Bobby Bollinger here, and today, a new edition of the NFL Picks, this time moving on to the conference round. Since there's only 2 games to predict though, like last week, we do a recap of the previous playoff games. From the divisional round, first game I watched, Falcons versus Eagles. It was an enjoyable game because I do like slugfest football. The Falcons just kind of let it slip out of their hands, figuratively and literally. And the Eagles got their running game going somewhat decently, and Nick Foles only ever had to complete easy passes, so he put up good things statistically. But I could tell that, no, this is not a great quarterback. And that's about as much as I could get from that game. Next game was Titans versus Patriots. And oh my god. Sir, I said last week it was probably a smarter idea to pick the Patriots, but I decided to go with the Titans since they were up against the same exact team as last time, and they'd found an offense that worked against that team. Unfortunately, they didn't stick with that offense. What they had was a fast-paced running game, and they just threw that out the window and played typical football. And thanks to Tony Romo and the other CBS announcers being vastly superior to the ones on Fox, I actually figured out exactly what was wrong with this Titans team. Okay, first of all, their best receivers are tight ends, which would imply that they're trying to get short yardage throws, so they've got to go up-tempo for that. But instead, they go typical offense. There's nothing special about this offense. It is literally basic NFL offense. And they are not built to do that. So they came into this game with the wrong type of offense, knowing it was the wrong type of offense. And after halftime, it was clear that it was the wrong type of offense, and they stuck with it. That is a failure in coaching. Similar thing applies to the defense. They kept guarding against the deep ball. Brady does not have that much deep ball accuracy. When he threw it deep against the Titans, he missed every time. And they just kept on guarding it anyway, even though they're getting picked apart down the middle because everyone is wide open in the middle of the field in short yardage. And they just kept getting needled down there. And they didn't make a single adjustment. The worst part to me, though, was how this team is made up. Who's on that 52-man roster? Well, not defensive linemen. They have, the Titans want to be a grindy team, I think. That's where their strengths lie everywhere, is on grinding stuff. So, obviously, their defensive line has to not only be good, but have a good number of linemen in it. Instead, they have a grand total of 4 defensive linemen. Not 4 defensive linemen on the field, 4 defensive linemen on the whole team. I mean, how? How can you expect that to work? Who was put in charge of deciding who was put on this team? 4 defensive linemen. And you want to be grindy. How can you think that will work? I don't even care what the quality of those 4 is. You need more than 4 Like, I'm pretty sure there are cases where you can put 5 defensive linemen on the field, and they literally cannot do that. Like, there's something seriously wrong with the Titans. A ton of lost potential. And even if the refs helped them in the first half of this game, they're the ones who blew the second half. And this game was not a case of the Patriots being good, so much as the Titans just shot themselves in the foot multiple times. It was bad. Well, 2 subpar games, and the next day, holy crap. First of all was Jaguars versus Steelers. I was not expecting a high score, but in the end it was 45-42. Like, how does Blake Bortles put up that many points? Well, it's by not using him, period. The first half, they just used Fournette time after time after time, and he hammered them, he powered through, he got good yardage. He got injured, and when he returned in the second half, it was kind of obvious that his power was not there anymore. That doesn't mean he was bad, but his running was now on the quality of, I think it's Chris Ivory, their other running back. And since Chris Ivory catches better, he should have been the main running back, but it was kind of hard to tell. It was impossible to tell which one should have started the second half. And by the time it was figured out, the points were rolling and you needed to throw. As for how that throwing went for the Jaguars, much like the Eagles, Blake Bortles was just throwing easy stuff. Like, the fact that he screwed some of it up is truly astounding to me. Like, it's a simple turn, throw the ball to the guy who is standing there. And he misses. Like, not even misses because he threw it low in a panic, misses because he went off to the side behind the guy. So, the Jaguars, they need someone to help. Like, if they can't run the ball against the Patriots, they're probably going to lose. Steelers, on their part, they tried. They got their points. But on defense, without Ryan Shazier, they are nothing on defense. Just worthless. And it showed. Then came the final game of the week. Saints versus Vikings. The Vikings jumped out to a 17-0 lead, and I figured, yeah, they got this. And I was kind of astounded because I'd watched the Saints, and they played really good football. And I hadn't watched the Vikings before, so to see the Vikings just so thoroughly bassing the Saints was just, okay, this is the Super Bowl team. Then the Saints started to come back. And things started to get a little interesting. Each team exchanging the lead multiple times until it came down to that final play. And Case Keenum, I'll say this, he's not a terrible quarterback, but he makes some stupid throws and keeps getting bailed out by his receivers. On that final play, he threw it to the guy who honestly is not going to have a way to get out of bounds. And if he gets out of bounds, good. They can get the field goal from there. But he was in no position to get out of bounds. A Saints defender ended up missing. Who knows why? Stuff happens. And then Stephon Diggs regains his balance, sees the end zone, and just goes. time expires, and he scores as time expires, and the Vikings win. And may be going on to the Super Bowl for it. It was incredible to watch, and I loved how Stephon Diggs reacted once he crossed that goal line. He slowed down, took off his helmet, threw it to the side, and it was just like this, because I did not know Stephon Diggs' name. Most people outside of Minnesota, and maybe the NFC North, did not know Stephon Diggs' name. And he was actually a really good receiver. So he almost certainly felt undervalued, which he was. He should have been getting more fame. And once he scored that touchdown, he knew, finally, they know my name. And then later on, when he was taking the pictures, he was just standing there, looking all serious, and he was basking in the glory, and he earned it, no doubt. This Vikings team it's got some good stuff going for it with him. As for the Saints, oh, that must have been so heartbreaking. I didn't have a dog in that fight, really, but I feel for those Saints. That must have sucked. Because the guy who missed the tackle, it wasn't even, yeah, he's been screwing up all year, no surprise. It's a guy who's responsible for your defense finally being functional who messed up. So he's been so good all year long, and he screwed up that one time, and it happened to be the wrong time. Hopefully it doesn't stick with him. Anyway, that was an eventful week. Moving on to the conference championships. First one, Jaguars against Patriots. Ooh, boy. This one's going to be fun. Now, throughout all my watching of the Patriots, I've noticed that when teams go to Foxborough, they go in scared. Heck, when they entertain the Patriots, when the Patriots come to them, they're scared. And it's always, yeah, they're a really good team and we got to play our best football to beat them. Meanwhile, for the Jaguars, it's, we got to win that. Expletive. We gonna beat the crud out of them. So I really, really like the Jaguars' attitude here because finally, someone isn't intimidated. And I have a feeling the Jaguars' defense is actually gonna play really well against the Patriots. Well enough to make up for Blake Bortles? I don't know. However, I will say I'm going to have to trust Leonard Fournette. I'm going to trust him. I'm going to take the Jaguars. And there's also some report out there that Tom Brady's got a minor injury on his hand. I don't know. They do that kind of stuff all the time. It reminds me of the time he cut himself with scissors somehow. Like, people were making a big deal out of that. I just thought, I don't care. It's scissors. He didn't cut off a finger. In this case, it actually could be worse. And if it does affect him, the Patriots are just done. But I have a feeling it's not going to affect him too much. Still, I trust Leonard Fournette. And I trust the Jaguars' defense, so I'm gonna take the Jaguars. The South will be in the Super Bowl. And that final game, Vikings versus Eagles. Now, It seems a little mean to call the Eagles bad, because they're not. The only real issue is quarterback. But Nick Foles does nothing to help his team. He's there. I wasn't sure which version of him we'd end up getting after all this time. It became pretty clear we get the, oh god, I hope I don't screw this up version. So, and I like the Eagles' running game, but the Vikings demonstrated against a great O-line and great running backs of the Saints that they don't care. They can stuff your run, regardless of what you have in it. So that offensive piece of them is going to be gone, and it's going to be up to Nick Foles to score the points, and I can't trust that. Period. On the Viking side, Casey Keenum's not the greatest quarterback, but with great receivers like he has now, he is functional. More functional than Nick Foles. So I have to give it to him just because I don't think he's going to screw up as bad as Nick Foles is just going to not do anything. So I'm going to take the Vikings to win the NFC Championship, giving them a Super Bowl in their own home against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Who wins from there? Well, that's for next time. Tell me what you thought of last week's games and who you think's going to win this week's. And until the next time, see you later. Get it.